What's going on, buddy?
Nigga done brought a team out here.
Obviously, he doesn't live here.
The reason why I ask you to live here is a private community, so if you don't live here, you need to leave. If you live here, you're visiting a friend, that's fine, just let us know, because you're getting neighbors concerned since you're walking around my house. I'm not walking around. Hold on, Steve. You've been past my house 4 times, I don't know you, I've never seen you here before, and you're walking past my house over and over again. So if you live here or you have a friend you're visiting here, that's fine. I'm not in front of your house. You're actually following me.
You went up the wrong way. We're just asking a question. You live out here?
I'm a part of the neighborhood.
You're part of the neighborhood? Well, does that mean you live here? It's simple.
Like, bro, what?
Okay, so you know that video everyone's talking about? The one from Florida after Hurricane Idalia?
Yeah. What is...
It's intense, right?
Yeah.
We're going to take a deep dive into that today, look at the clip itself and what people are saying about it online.
All right, sounds good.
You ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
So the video starts with this young black guy. He's filming, and right away you can see a group of white people following him. It's clear they're giving him a hard time, like they don't think he belongs there.
And that's such a crucial point right from the start, you know?
Totally.
That power dynamic,
Yeah.
the group versus this one guy. Instant tension.
Exactly. And his mom later explained on TikTok that he was actually just talking to his girlfriend on his phone. The hurricane knocked out their service.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, in the moment, it's intimidating, right?
Absolutely. And the mom emphasizing that detail later on makes you think they were trying to frame it a certain way, like maybe as a neighborhood watch thing that went too far.
Right, like suddenly it's about community safety and not, you know. What of the fact that they're targeting this kid for just existing?
Exactly.
And it gets worse. They keep pressing him on if he actually lives in the neighborhood, even though he's telling them he does.
And that's classic, right?
Oh, yeah.
That need to, like, assert control.
It's like they don't believe him because he's...
Exactly.
And he's young.
Because he doesn't fit their idea of what a resident should be.
Totally. And then one of them says, get this, and this is a direct quote, "Well, you walked past my house 4 times.
Oh, come on.
Like, since when is walking down a public street suspicious?
See, and that's where you get into those microaggressions, the stuff that might seem small but speaks volumes. Demanding proof of address when he's already said he lives there? It's like saying he doesn't have the right to be there. And that comment about him walking by multiple times, it's taking a completely normal action and twisting it to fit this narrative of suspicion.
It's totally profiling. And it plays into this bigger idea of who gets to decide who belongs in a space.
100%. They're claiming ownership over a public street, making it clear that they think they get to decide who's in and who's out.
It's scary, honestly.
It is.
And his mom's TikToks add a whole other layer to this whole thing. She's obviously upset. I mean, who wouldn't be? She calls it exactly what it is, racial profiling. And get this. One of the people in that group was an off-duty police officer.
Ew.
In his personal car. But still, that changes the whole dynamic, right?
Completely. It's like suddenly there's this unspoken threats of law enforcement backing up these accusations.
Exactly. And no wonder she's furious. Her son is just trying to walk in his own neighborhood, and he's made to feel like a criminal.
It's that constant fear, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Like for a black person, even the most mundane thing can turn into a confrontation.
Absolutely. And the way his mom talks about it, she connects it to this long history of Black people being treated like they don't belong in their own communities.
Which is so important because it's not an isolated incident.
All right.
This is part of a pattern.
Exactly.
And she's making that link so clearly. It's like she's saying this isn't just about her son anymore. You know, it's bigger than that.
Right.
It's about this whole history.
Exactly.
Of suspicion and hostility that Black people have faced just for existing in public spaces.
And that's where this whole thing gets even crazier. It blew up online, right? People arguing about freedom papers and constitutional rights. Like it's the 1800s again.
It's wild, right?
It's like people are stuck in some kind of time warp.
Yeah, and it shows how easily these situations can become these huge debates about who belongs where and who has the right to question someone's presence.
Right. Like I was reading the comments on that video and you had people on one side all about neighborhood watch and keeping their community safe.
Which on the surface, you know,
right.
Sounds reasonable.
Sure. But then you've got the other side pointing out the obvious, like how do you decide who seems out of place without letting your own biases creep in.
Exactly. And that's the danger, right? Because those ideas of who belongs and who doesn't are often rooted in these really deep-seated prejudices.
Totally. And the mom goes even further with that point when she brings up the off-duty officer.
Oh, yeah.
There's this one part in her video where she says, "Once upon a time, there was a black man whose name was Emmett." And you just know she's talking about Emmett Till.
Oh, wow.
And it's like this punch to the gut, you know, because it connects her son's experience to this much larger and much more tragic story.
Absolutely. She's drawing a direct line between what happened to Emmett Till and the everyday reality for Black people today, that fear of being targeted simply for existing.
It's heavy stuff, and it makes you think, like, even if those residents face consequences for what happened, would it actually change anything?
That's the question, isn't it?
Like, would it really address those underlying biases that led to the confrontation in the first place?
Right, because you can't legislate away prejudice.
Exactly.
You can't just pass a law and suddenly everyone's worldview changes.
It's the much deeper issue.
It goes way deeper. It's about examining our own biases and being willing to challenge those deeply ingrained beliefs that we might not even realize we have.
It's like we keep coming back to this idea of belonging, you know?
Yeah.
What it really means to feel safe and accepted in your own community.
Absolutely. And for a lot of people of color, that feeling is constantly being tested.
Right. Like in this case, just going for a walk in your own neighborhood becomes this big confrontation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it shows how fragile that sense of belonging can be, how quickly it can be shattered by prejudice and suspicion.
It's scary to think about.
It is, and it's a reminder that we can't just sit back and hope things will get better on their own.
Yeah.
You know, we have to be actively dismantling these systems that allow this kind of thing to happen.
Absolutely. We can't just be not racist anymore. We have to be actively anti-racist.
Exactly. It's about recognizing our own privilege and using it to amplify marginalized voices to challenge these harmful narratives whenever we see them.
And that takes courage, right? Like to speak out against injustice even when it's uncomfortable.
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
It takes guts to stand up and say, this isn't right, and to demand better for yourself and for your community.
And that's exactly what this mom did. She could have stayed silent, you know, but she chose to share her son's story with the world.
And thank goodness she did, because that act of speaking out, of bearing witness, is so powerful.
Right. It forces people to confront this reality that we might not want to see otherwise.
It challenges us to examine our own biases and to ask ourselves some hard questions about the role we're playing in perpetuating these systems.
And hopefully to inspire real change.
Exactly. Because at the end of the day, that's what this is all about, right? Creating a world where everyone feels safe, seen, and respected, no matter who they are or where they come from.
It's a powerful message. And honestly, it's a lot to unpack. You know, we've only scratched the surface here today, but hopefully this conversation has given you some things to think about, some questions to ask yourself, and maybe even some fuel to keep fighting for a better tomorrow.
I hope so. Because we all have a role to play in this work.
We do. And it starts with each and every one of us looking inward, challenging our own biases, and committing to creating a more just and equitable world for everyone.
Yeah. Couldn't have said it better myself.
Well, on that note, I think we're going to wrap up this deep dive for today. But keep the conversation going, folks. Challenge yourselves, challenge each other, and let's keep working towards that better tomorrow together. Thanks for listening, everybody.